Hey guys, in this video we'll be assembling the kit for the forklift add-on. Here's the kit. This is the inside. We'll go over each piece individually as we assemble the kit. And of course, for this assembly, you will need a Phillips screwdriver. So the first step in the assembly will be to attach this back piece with these two side frame pieces. To do that, you'll need a few screws from this bag of screws. You should take 4 screws, and in the bag you should also be able to find some nuts, which you'll need 4 of. So let's start with this side. So what you'll need to do is to put the screws through these 2 back holes, and they should align with these 2 holes on the back piece. So it should look like this. To keep them in place, you'll also notice that the back piece has these notches, these slots, where we can put the nuts in and it will keep them in place. So you should be able to put them in like so. And what we'll do next is we'll take 2 screws and we'll put them in slightly, just so they stick out the piece a little, and this will help us align the side piece with this other back piece. Then we could just screw that in. Now let's move on to the other side. Again, we do pretty much the same thing. Again, we want to screw into the same 2 holes. Okay, now that that's done, we can move on to mounting this front piece to the frame. And again, the process is quite similar. You'll notice that this piece has little slots where we could fit nuts in. Again, we're taking from the same bag. We'll need another 4 screws and another 4 nuts. So you can see I put the 2 nuts in right here. And then we'll want to line these side pieces with this front piece. Specifically, we want to align these two holes with these two holes. You can try and hold the nut with your finger while you screw it in to keep the nut in place, just to make sure it doesn't fall out. And again, it's pretty much the same thing for the other side. Okay, so far you should have something that looks like this. So next we'll be working with the servo, which I have right here. But before we do anything with it, we first need to set it to its default 90-degree angle, as this corresponds with the horizontal position of the arm of the forklift. So to do that, you should take your Stackr and upload the forklift program onto the microcontroller. Then you could connect your servo to the Stackr into this row of connectors. Like so. And then you should turn on your Stackr and wait for the servo to move into position. Now it may not move for you, and this just means that the servo is already in that default 90-degree position. Now that that's done, the next step will be to take this bag, specifically this black arm that's inside of it, and you should place it onto the servo. More specifically, you should place it horizontally, exactly like so. Then we can actually take this arm, specifically the one with this notch on the back, which matches the black arm, and place them together like so. To keep the arm in place, you could take a screw from the same bag that small black arm was in. Specifically, you want this one. It's different from the other two in the bag. It has threads which are a lot closer together. So next we could actually attach this forklift piece to the arm. And to do that, we'll want to align this bottom hole with this hole at the end of the arm. We'll need one of the two screws in this bag. To distinguish it, the screw actually has a little cone-headed shape. Now the screw should be tightened enough such that the forklift piece will stay in place. However, it should be able to move pretty freely, or rotate pretty freely. At this point, we can now attach the servo in the arm to the frame. So we'll want to attach it in this slot over here. Should be able to slide it in like so. And we can take these two screws and put them into this hole and this hole. Kind of hard to see. Now these are the same two screws that were from that bag that had that little black arm piece that we used earlier, as well as the other screw that we used to put the arm in place. So now we can attach this other arm to the top part of this forklift piece. And to do that, we'll use this other screw. It's the same screw that we used right here, the one that has a cone-shaped head. And you want to align it with this hole. And again, the screw should be just tight enough so that the joints can still move freely. Now, next we could attach this small piece to the top of the front. We could attach it to this hole right here. It would fit on like so. And you'll notice actually, if we look on the other side, there's once again another notch where we can place nut inside. Now again, we're taking from that same bag earlier, the one that we used for all of these screws at the beginning. So it's in like so. Okay, now we'll want to attach this dangling arm to this piece. And to do that, we'll need this screw. It comes in its own bag. And it's longer than any other screw in the kit. And again, it should be just tight enough such that the joints are still able to move. We're almost done now. We can just take this counterweight piece, and you'll notice it has these two parts sticking out, which fit into the holes on the back piece. Like so. And now we can attach it to a stacker. Like with other add-ons, we can attach it to these holes on the sides of the stacker. And to do that, we also have this bag of 8 screws, which we can use. That's one side done. And finally, just to deal with this dangling cable from the servo, we can thread it through this little notch right here. Like so. And we can plug it in to one of these two rows of connectors on the back. That concludes our assembly of the forklift add-on. Thanks for watching.